Excellent. Okay. All right. Thank you. So obviously, as the Bronx River Alliance and members, you're very familiar with the Greenway, right? Its vision, right? The development of it. So there's a long history involved in the development and rehabilitation of the Bronx River. And so this project is really just a very small portion of this of what we're going to share with you tonight. So this presentation is just going to go into some background, proposed improvements, some challenges, some changes that we've made in the course of design, and we're going to talk a little bit about community liaison involvement and where we are today as far as the schedule for this project. So the map to my right, or to your right, is the representation of 23 miles, of course, 8 miles being in the Bronx. That blue circle that you see there is of the 5 segments where the project location is, and it's actually segment B and segment C. So those 2 segments are connected as part of a small portion of this project and the the Greenway master plan. And so as you can see here, there's a larger close-up of the project limits, which are in red. The green line that you see there is the proposed Bronx River Greenway connection, which connects into Starlight Park as well as the Bronx Park that's on the upper portion of the frame. And then if you look to the yellow is actually just highlighting the school. There's a Department of Education property line, and just at the triangle end of that property is the recreation area. We're highlighting that because there's an area of interference where our project limits and the DOE property line kind of conflict a bit there. So that point of interference is the orange circle there. And again, we're going to get a little bit into detail as to what that entails. So again, we just wanted to kind of map out the project locations, East Tremont, East 177th Street, Devoe Avenue, as well as the Sheridan Expressway ramp. And to speak about the project's proposed community improvements, as well as the challenges that we've encountered during design, I'd like to introduce my colleague, who's the design engineer in charge at DDC. Her name is Glory B. Traveris. Glory B, are you here?
Yeah, I'm on
Ah,
Taveras.
okay, sorry.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you,
Glory B.
Maria.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, so next slide, please. Okay, so the proposed improvements under this project are to improve pedestrian and vehicle movements in the area, to make the pedestrian crossings shorter by adding or expanding on the refuge medians, the traffic islands, and sidewalks, to make the Bronx River Greenway connection between the Starlight Park and the Bronx River Park, and to upgrade the infrastructure, which includes street lighting, traffic signals, water main, sewers, and signage. Next slide. So during design, we're encountering a few challenges. Some of the challenges are due to the widening of the Sheridan Expressway bridge ramp. The ramp is under jurisdiction of state DOT, and therefore developing the design requires extensive coordination with state DOT. In addition, because the ramp runs directly above the Bronx River and widening would require additional structural elements near the river, we will have to coordinate with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to determine any environmental effects and any design considerations to reduce impact to the wetlands. Another challenge due to the widening of the Sheridan Expressway ramp is that we will be encroaching approximately 7 feet into the right of way of the adjacent school, the Moliere Academy, with the widened ramp and a barrier. The school playground also will be temporarily impacted during construction. The reason for the ramp being widened is that at a 35 mile per hour vehicle design speed and our auto turn analysis that we conducted, it was determined that we needed the extra width to accommodate vehicles making that, traveling on the road and making that slight turn. We had started coordination with the New York City Department of Education for that 7-foot encroachment, and with the school administration as well. Okay, there has already been a lot of coordination with the project sponsors and stakeholders. Some of the stakeholders which we have started coordination with are listed here. We have New York State DOT. They are, the owners of the Sheridan Expressway portion of the bridge. We have state DEC, which is for the environmental issues in the wetland. We have the Department of Education because of the work being done near the school and working within the school property during construction. We have the New York City Department of Environmental Protection because there is a lot of upgrades to the water main and sewers in the area as part of the project. We have New York City Transit due to modified design within 700 feet of the transit facilities. With DOT, we are working with multiple units. We have to work with the signals unit for the traffic study and design of the timing of the signals. The street lighting unit, we also have to coordinate with and have been coordinating with. New York City DOT OCMC for the development of the MPT plans, which are the maintenance and protection of traffic plans during construction, and also with the traffic stipulations during construction. We have also started coordination with the private utilities in the area, such as Con Ed, ECS, AT&T, and Cablevision. We've had to coordinate with them multiple times, and we'll have to continue till the very end due to any changes that we've had to the design scope. And of course, community-based organizations and officials. So we've recently presented to the community board last month, and today we're here. Like many other things, COVID-19 has also delayed this project. The project was put on hold in March of 2020, and we restarted in July of 2021. And due to the project being on hold for so long, we'll have to kind of restart the reviews with different agencies. We will most likely have to do some revisions to the design due to any upgraded or updated standards. Next slide, please. Um, Designing around the existing elevated subway at East Tremont Avenue and Boston Road also has some challenges and constraints. In order to maintain the existing overhead clearance, the roadway was not able to be raised in any way. We had to keep the existing street grades. The curb design or geometry was restricted because of the columns that are part of the structure. The potential for adding additional lighting mounted on the subway structure, needs to be looked into and analyzed. And we had to kind of design, keeping in mind trying to improve the visibility issues that are there right now, where people in vehicles have a hard time seeing pedestrians. Next slide, please. On the expanded sidewalk area, or which we are proposing to expand on the East Tremont Avenue between Boston Road and Bronx Street, the street lighting is not sufficient for this sidewalk area. And so, following the City DOT street design manual requirements for sidewalk lighting, the average illuminance should be somewhere between 0.46 and 0.93 foot candles. But if you look at the area that's kind of like shaded in blue or purple, that area all falls below the 0.46 requirement. And so what we're proposing as a solution is to install Flushing Metal Park pedestrian lights in that area, and you can see what they look like on the right side there. Okay, next slide, please. So during the time that this project has been in design, DOT has already implemented some temporary measures in the area, such as, their restriping to allow for better pedestrian pathways, modifying the signal timing to improve the flow of the traffic in the area. They added bus shelters, relocated some bus stops for better access from these subway to the buses, and they upgraded the lighting to LED. Uh, Thank you. I'll hand it back to Maria.
And so, as you know, this project is going to have its impacts during construction. And it'd be very important to have a vital component. We call them the Community Construction Liaison, the CCL. So when construction begins, before we begin construction, the CCL comes on board. They do a survey of the area. They start doing a lot of information gathering, creating contact with the businesses and the residents, collecting their contact information, creating a network notification so that they can send out periodic outreach materials that you can see here. We have a project information card, which is some basic information. Everything that we put out has the community construction liaison's telephone number, email, so everyone always knows who to call if there's any information or concerns or complaints. We also use an advisory. So prior to any work beginning, the community advisory is issued 72 hours in advance. We then follow that up with a 24-hour either confirmation or cancellation. Like water main, for instance. We plan the water main as best as possible. And if we're going to proceed with the water main, we put out a 24-hour either cancellation or confirmation. There's also a weekly look ahead that we issue on a Friday afternoon, highlighting all of the work that's expected for the next week. So we do that on a regular basis, as well as a quarterly newsletter, which highlights the work that's been completed to date, work that's expected for the next quarter, and sometimes we do share some progress photos of some of the work that's taking place. And again, any other information that the community should be aware of with regards to the project. The liaison, again, makes themselves available and accessible to the community with regards to any concerns that may come up. We encourage them to be as proactive as possible to try to minimize complaints or minimize impacts rather, that if they see something, we share it with the project team. If there's events or things that we need to know about in advance, that's shared with the project team as well. And if we can try to work out accommodations, we certainly do so. So obviously, if there's community members, residents, for example, that need their ADA, accessoride, that level of coordination happens on a case-by-case basis. And so the liaison is a vital component to the community during the construction process. So obviously we do our best to keep everyone informed during construction. So just to share a little bit of the schedule, as we mentioned, we presented last month to the community board. We're in October, we're presenting to you, the membership of the Bronx River Alliance. In December, we anticipate 75% completion of the design plans. At that point, we do a mass mailing where we send it out to everyone who needs to know about the project. And then by the summer of next year, we'll be 100% complete with our designs. After that, we prepare the package for a bid as part of our procurement process, which can take 6 months or more, depending. So from winter, 22 to the fall, we anticipate, construction to begin in the fall of 2023. And this project, we anticipate the project duration to be approximately 3 years. So if there are any questions, we're here to answer any questions you may have. And if you have any concerns or any information you would like to share, we're also interested in that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Tuhira, I'm gonna defer to you for now. See, we got some questions in the chat before I wrote down some of my own, and I'm sure a lot of other folks got some as well. So if you got any questions you might want to throw out there now.
Sure. So we've had both Lucia and Tom ask questions regarding the 35 miles per hour design speed. So specifically, is the widening of the Sheridan ramp necessary? Couldn't the speed limit simply be reduced? As Tom pointed out, it enters a sensitive intersection where cars are mixing with pedestrians, cyclists, etc., where I hope design should encourage lower speeds than 35 miles per hour. And rightly so, he says, it looks like it dramatically complicates the project. So I wonder if you can address that. And then also, were there any other alternatives considered aside from the widening of the Sheridan ramp? So that's
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So in Benjamin DOT design, I'm sorry, in Benjamin DOT capital program management, the design speed was not the controlling factor in the reasoning for widening this. With consultation with the state, currently there's a kink there that reduces this from the 2 lanes to effectively 1 lane, which causes congestion and backup on the Sheridan. So the idea with smoothing off the kink was in order to alleviate that congestion. That was something that was, at that time, when we started this project, was one of the state's requests.
So to be clear, the widening is not for a speed adjustment before.
No, it wasn't for the speed adjustment. If you look at it now, there's a kink in that. Is a current kink in the roadway there, which effectively reduces it down to approximately 1 lane. So all that traffic that comes off in Sheridan, which is about 2 lanes, comes trying to squeeze into 1 lane and causes congestion and back up on the Sheridan. So that was to alleviate that congestion.
So its current state is 1 lane?
Effectively with that kink, yes. The 2 lanes is kind of squeezing, trying to get into 1.
What are the current lane widths?
Larry, do you have that numbers offhand?
No, I would have to check the plans. Give me a minute.
Okay, real quick, while I do that, I just do want to highlight, we're going to try to get to as many folks' questions as possible. We're going to try to keep the questions to about 30 seconds so that we can try to squeeze as many folks. Whatever questions we don't get to, we will forward them over and hopefully get you some answers. So
I'll move on to the next question then, while you're trying to determine the width. Again, I wanted to ask whether there were other alternatives, aside from widening, considered, because it seems strange that you're saying that it's a single lane, or it ultimately pushes out into a single lane, because I don't recall that. And then Tom asks whether the design plan maintains the slip lane between East Tremont westbound and West Farms Road northbound.
Can you repeat that question again?
Sure. Does the current design plan intend to keep the slip lane between East Tremont westbound and West Farms Road northbound?
I'm sorry.
I could clarify. If there's the picture where all the sidewalk space is highlighted in orange.
This one?
It has a slip lane. Yeah. Yes. I guess technically that's Boston Road now. But from Tremont onto Boston Road, there's slip lane for, yes.
Like a U-turn lane. You're talking about the U-turn lane that's in front of the school?
No, the thing that someone
the slip
just
lane
drew
here?
on.
This right here. You
Well,
see,
there's no
can you
slip
follow
lane
the
there. We're
mouse?
adding a slip lane there.
So you're adding a slip
It's
lane.
not a slip lane though. It's just a pillar. There's a pillar there. We're not adding
There's
a
a
slip lane. It's
pillar,
still going to
yeah,
be
there's
controlled.
a-
It's not going to be a slip lane.
So there's a pillar on the triangle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pillar from the subway.
Splitting,
I mean,
that's
from the
traffic
elevated
is
train.
going northbound onto Boston.
Yes.
And
right
so the
here.
concrete, you can see here as you're approaching westbound Tremont Avenue or southbound Boston Road, the configuration is different. But we're not maintaining any slip roads there.
Okay, so that component is because what, cars trying to make that right onto Boston Road can't turn around the concrete or have visibility around it?
Are you talking about the sidewalk extension, the bump outs?
Well,
I think he's
I
referring
guess-
to the little triangle.
This triangle area here.
yeah. Yes.
so I'm assuming that right turning cars will be between the triangle and the bump out, right?
Yes,
Correct.
this way.
And that's just,
So
'Cause-
cars on East Tremont that want to go right will go this way. Cars that want to continue onto East Tremont upward, southbound will be, oh, sorry, westbound,
Right.
westbound.
So as a motorist, if you are familiar with this as a motorist, you know that you basically make a jug handle turn, you make a left and then a right to continue straight onto Tremont Avenue. And so what this does is this realigns Tremont Avenue to be a little more straight for the motorists. And because we're
There's a photo here.
reorganizing but this is the slip lane that I thought you were talking about, which is a U-turn.
yeah.
So right now vehicles traveling, so everybody's going to be moved over a little bit on Tremont and go around this column here. Right. So this concrete will be out that's in the middle here, and Tremont vehicles will be going straight, more straight or more west on that intersection. And vehicles that are turning, which will be like by where that kind of towards the right, where that red vehicle is in that photo, will be held to make the right turn. So that we'll figure out a traffic configuration that separates the two movements. Right now, if you've ever been in a car at that intersection, you have three moving lanes. One is making a right turn. Two are quasi going onto Tremont, and sometimes there's the third lane on the left side going onto southbound Boston Road. And so, and the middle lane there that goes either Tremont or Boston vehicles do whatever they want to do. So this design will normalize that intersection and organize it in a much more pedestrian friendly way.
Okay, all right. I want to get some more questions as well. We got the time. So here, do you have someone else that we could prompt to? And again, folks, keep your questions to 30 seconds.
And I just want to introduce myself. My name is Keith Kalb. I'm the Deputy Borough Commissioner for the Bronx DOT. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself at the beginning of the meeting. Sorry about that. I thought there would be like a intro section, but I kind of wasn't. The design the concept that we're showing you is not the final design, right? We are working on the final design now. So this is the concept that took all the users that utilize the space and try to balance the usage of the roadway for everybody. And so that's what you see here is this redesign here for the improvements. You'll notice that on Devoe, we eliminated the conflict that happens on vehicles traveling east and west and that turn south towards the Sheridan / I-95 interchange. And we've organized that into one roadway.
Okay.
While providing bicycle connection on the Greenway at Bronx Street.
If you can put a time span on the concepts and the design that's represented here. In terms of a time frame, like, could you give us an idea of like how long these ideas have been collected and like starting when and ending when? I know, but I'm trying to get a
Eternity.
sense of the
Eternity.
recency of these designs.
This is a concept. This right here is the concept. This is the concept of what we're planning to do. The final design has not been completed yet.
Understood. I think one question that I see coming through is like the time frame, like, or timeline of these designs.
I don't understand what that
design
means.
ideas.
So
Well,
as Maria and Glory B mentioned earlier, the time frame here is by summer 22, we should be at 100% design plans for this project.
I have a question. So the conceptual design that you provided was actually presented to the community board back in 2014. So this project has been in design since back then.
It's actually,
And I think the question they're asking is, for how long has this project been in design?
Design.
2017, 2017, I think. Officially, was it?
I will say again, maybe before that, because it was presented to the community board in 2014.
yeah.
Okay.
So this project,
It's been around a while.
actually it's HWX 2007 is the project name.
Oh, 2007, yeah.
So this project has been kicked around in many iterations, right? So the reconstruction keeps expanding, right? So initially, HWXP 2007, before I came to the Bronx, I started in the Bronx in 2008. This concept or this improvement was already being evolved, talked about being funded. There was already a movement to, from my understanding, which was before my time, from the Bronx River Alliance to make these improvements and to make this final connection to Starlight Park from Bronx Street. So it's been evolving, and so what's happened is, because there are so, as Gloria B and Maria mentioned earlier, because it's such a complex, I don't want to say intersection, because it's not an intersection. It's actually a series of intersections.
Yes.
It has been evolving. So this actually in 2017, the concept that you see here is what we did show. But again, it's not the final design. But in 2014, when this went to the community board at this PS 215 school, we presented this to the community board back then, before West Farms was developed, before Sheridan Boulevard came to fruition. And Boston Road was not part of that plan. And so Boston Road, East Tremont, and West Farms was added because it made sense, since we were doing this comprehensive plan, to include the improvements that were really needed to be done at that intersection. Now, when plans are on the books, since I'll guess 2007. I don't know that to be fact, but I'm guessing because that was before I came to the
you're right.
Bronx.
You're right, Keith. It was about 2007.
Yeah.
Because that's why we tagged the project
Right.
2007.
Of
Yeah,
course.
you're absolutely right. Yes,
Right,
that's
of
when it was
course.
initiated officially. Yes,
Right.
yes. And you're
Um,
also correct that, I mean, the project was originally called 177 Devoe, which,
Right.
so really the focus was just this lower right part of the project limits.
Right.
And then later, as community input and over the years, further improvements and expansion of the project limits happened to include this upper left
Right.
portion of the project. Yeah.
Right. And since since that time, the development of this area has skyrocketed. You have the West Farms West Farms Road development. You have the whole West Farms neighborhood. You have Starlight Park, which, in the Sheridan Boulevard, which is opened to pedestrians now. That was not at the time when this was all, thought of and concept. So, yeah, it has been on the books for a really long time. Ideally, we would love to get to final design so that this community and the communities who will be ultimately affected around this area, the West Farms neighborhoods, Morris Park, all these areas, we want to get these improvements here. So we're hoping that the concept is, in theory, going to work for everybody.
So, and specifically given the length of time that's already passed, right? This question is from Nilka Martel, who is the board chair of the Bronx River Alliance, and she's asking specifically about the 12.3 million that was allocated for the project back in 2017. Given the delays so far, right, is there enough money to make this a reality if construction begins in 2023?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think I've seen this question come through in several forms. I think what people are worried about, right, is because the project has been in design for so long. Yes, the funds have been allocated, and I expect they haven't necessarily been used yet, but costs have gone up, right? And we're currently living in conditions right now where there's supply chain disruptions, making materials more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. So this project is set to start construction in 2023, right? So what people are wondering is the funding, is the 12.3 million enough to complete this project and to also mitigate further delays?
I don't think this is a $12 million project, if that's the question. But I don't anticipate lack of funding is going to be a problem to move this forward. It never has been a lack of funding. It's never been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's
this
a lot of
project.
community interest with regards to this project. Yeah.
And as a person who works at the Department of Transportation for a long time and works in the Bronx for a fairly long time, this is the priority of our agency to get this done. So we want to make this connection. We want to make improvements here. It's unsafe the way it is now.
Understood.
It's terrible. It's terrible intersections or whatever you want to call it. It's a terrible corridor. We need to make improvements. And the agency, it's our agency's priority to make this project happen.
I want to thank you for that. Before we get to the next community member's question, I just want to stay on something that you just said, but it's also a question that I've seen come up. Who makes these decisions as to when these timelines are moving? Are we going to have another delay with a change in administration, mayoral administration that's happening now? Like, is that something that's going to push this back? I want to know what to really tell people when they're asking.
I don't anticipate that. I mean, I can't. I mean, look, no one anticipated COVID, right? I can't make that promise that's not going to happen. But I can tell you that from the Bronx DOT's office and the DOT, this intersection, this interchange is a priority. We want to make this happen. I can't say that we don't have another outbreak or something else happens. And so the design was halted because of the COVID-19, which we mentioned earlier. So I can't, I wouldn't swear on a stack of Bibles that you could not get another delay, but this is our priority to make this happen.
Understood. So here, do we have somebody else who want to call on real quick?
And I mean, and again, just to put this in context, I know that we've been talking about this project for a very long time, but I just want to remind everyone, and I just put up another slide to let everyone know that the design coordination has been very extensive and continues to be so. We have a lot of different, agencies as well as, utilities. It's a very complex. He said intersections, and again, a lot of the community input. The project has continued to grow, expand. So all of those different things, not just COVID, have really added to the timeline in how this project is being designed. So again, very complex in the ground as well as above it. So
right.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah.
So I'll call on Samalise Lopez to ask her question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samelis, and I'm a Bronx resident and a cyclist. So one of the things that I wanted to ask tonight is, what is the progress on 177th and Devoe, that intersection? Because I personally have had a couple of close calls when I've been biking in that area, and I know some people have as well. So I wanted to know if there was a status update on that.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. A status update on what?
Has any
I
work been
believe,
done?
yeah, I believe during the presentation, you said there was changes already made. And as someone who goes to there regularly, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, Samet, is that there hasn't been any changes and the area looks pretty much the same, if not even in worse condition than what it has been in before.
So the only temporary improvements that we made were upgrading the street lightings, the street lights. We refurbished all the markings, the current marking configuration. We haven't done any work at these intersections because they require capital reconstruction. And that is the purpose of this meeting, is to show you guys the proposed improvements for these intersections.
Yeah, and just again, to put it in perspective, I highlighted, there's a lot of different agencies, so there is DEP work included here. So if we are bumping out and extending sidewalks, or we're adding, relocating triangles, we have to make sure that DEP, who have sewers and water mains that are in the ground, that those are accessible if in the event that they need to access their assets, right? So we have to make sure that, if there's a water main that goes through here, now the water main has to get relocated, and moved so that, the sidewalk isn't in conflict with, their accessibility to what's in the subsurface, configurations, right? So even that has to, match with what we're doing on the surface as far as those changes. Just to put some perspective on it.
Thank you, Maria. Kevin, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Thank you. I'll make it quick, 2 quick questions. Currently doing east on Tremont Avenue between Boston and I guess even Devoe, the buses make bus bumps. Will remilling in cement be part of the program, or can I suggest that rather than asphalt, which would get more bumps? I don't know what the word for bus bumps are.
You're talking about hummocks, the hummocks that arise on the asphalt adjacent to bus stops. I believe that we will be putting concrete pads on this. Again, remember, this is not the final design that you're looking at, right? This is the concept design of what we're planning to do. All the details about like catch basin locations, I see some, I think Michael just said there's a bike lane in here. There is a bike lane here on here. You just can't see it because you're not getting close enough on the photo to see the bike lane here. There is a bike lane.
Yeah, the bike lane comes up through here across.
Right, but there is also a bike lane going. Yeah, there's a bike lane there going from on the north side. Yeah, you just don't see the markings. And we talked to the Community Board 6 last week or the week before, and they asked us to look at doing the bike lane further east towards like Morris Park Avenue. And but we'll include that. So in this plan right now, from Devoe on the north side of the street on East Tremont to Boston Road, there is a bike lane. It's not a green painted bike lane because those are all bus stops along there.
I want to piggyback off of something that you just said regarding the meeting that was just had with CB6. What's going to be the process of the community involvement throughout, even like leading up during the design phase? Because I see that you're going to present at 75 and then bring back to us. But that 75 could probably be way off of what community organizations and people have been asking for. So will there be any opportunities to have involvement leading up to that, and like from like whatever meetings are next coming up?
So what do you mean? The internal meetings?
No, not for instance, you presented at CB and now you're presenting with us. Would there
Right,
be
it's
another
the same presentation. The same presentation we showed CB6 is this presentation. At 75, when we at 75% design, we will have more of a clearer concept of what's going to be built out, and we would then present again to the community board. And then if you guys want another presentation, just like after we went to the community board, we came to you guys, we'll show it to you guys again. That's not a big deal.
Okay, so between now and the 75%, this is the last opportunity to kind of have some kind of community input or involvement?
Correct. I mean, ideally, it'd be great to have it before the 75% design
Right.
plans, which are due at the end of this year. So this is the ideal time to do this. For as far as community input.
Right.
That's why we're here.
And for folks who can't make this and maybe want to chime in, like, do we have like a point of contact, or how can we direct folks? Because I'm going to be honest, this project started before I even got involved in any type of community work or cycling as an adult. And, you know, there are people who have been involved in this since then and before that. So this is, as you said, your priority for you, but for many of us as well. I just want to make sure that folks can make sure they have their voices heard and we can actually direct them, because that's been a major challenge for us for quite some time. Who do we direct our questions to get any kind of answers?
Okay, well, I mean, we're here to answer your questions. We're presenting it. Time is of the essence. So the longer we take to get feedback, this is a potential delay, right? If we have to wait for 1,000 people to give us, you know, feedback, we then have to evaluate each one of those concepts that are being presented, and then we have to answer those questions, and that could, in theory, delay the design. Like if we get 1,000 requests for information or 1,000 different, you know, asks, let's say, that could delay it. But if you guys have a concept that you want us to include in this, you guys should tell us now before we move to 75% design.
Speaking of which, Keith, Michael Cass has a question on one of the older iterations of the plan. Michael, please.
Keith already answered the question. There actually are bike lanes there.
Okay.
They're just very hard to see.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
unfortunately.
Right. Right. Again, this is the concept, the big picture concept of what it's going to look like before we get to design. Once we get to design, you know, what that area that you saw in orange, you know, the engineers, the design engineers will calculate the curb height and the curb width and where the ped ramps are going to go, and you know how many linear feet of cables need to be installed for the electrical conduits for the street lights and traffic signals and, you know, sewer lines. There's a bridge in between the two intersections. So there's a whole thing that all these engineers have to figure out, all the conduits and sewer lines and get water mains and all that stuff, where the catch basins go, where the fire hydrants go, where the bus shelters go. All of that has to be designed into that before we put it out for construction.
Understood. And just to continue what you said, the deadline, when is that? Can you give us a deadline of when maybe us or anyone else?
We want it now. We want the feed. That's why we're showing you. We want your feedback now.
So normally when we send out a letter announcing where we are in a project, we usually give like a 30-day. At 40%, we give a letter to the community boards to say, you know, we have a 30-day comment period. So we're past that, and you know, again, we're you know, December is right around the corner. We're talking 2 months from now. So yeah, we need your commentary as soon as possible. We don't want to further delay the project. I mean, we're talking about, you know, 2007. This project has expanded over the years, you know, due to a lot of needs and community requests. But again, it being a priority project, and I think all of us agree, we don't want to delay. Yeah, I think within a week or two, I think would be reasonable.
So if you guys want to collect all your input together and then give us one email,
yep, that'd be great.
That would be fantastic. But you know, you guys,
who should we
let us
send
know what you want to do. Daniel,
Well,
Daniel,
Daniel has our
Contact
contact information, so he knows who to contact between DOT and DDC, so. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Twitter, do we have any other questions we could get? So I know folks' time was kind of wrapping up. Daniel, I know you had a timeline on folks' availability. I just want to check in with who's good and who's not able to take some more questions.
We didn't get to ask that. I know it's past 7 o'clock, and we appreciate DOT and DDC's time and the presentation, because you did the presentation in record time and it was amazing. So if you're able to stay for any additional questions, we'd appreciate that. And you've been giving amazing answers, and I was at the CP6 meeting as well. So I really do appreciate the time you spend with this community engagement. So yeah, I don't know, Maria and I guess Keith, you seem to be the key point people for this. Are you able to stay for a little bit longer, up to like 25 more minutes?
Yeah, I can stick around. I just want to mention, I have Holly Malone from the Bronx Borough Commissioner's Office also with us. She's the Greenway coordinator for the Bronx.
Awesome.
So we're here, she's here, and I'm here to answer any other questions you guys have.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
we're all ears. We're all ears.
Awesome. So hey, let's get what we got.
Kevin,
So here we got anybody else in chat?
Kevin,
That's
which
Hayden
map would
Benjamin
you like to
also.
see? Kevin, which map are you referring to? Which of the maps?
Those topography, that showed, no, next. No, back one, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let's remember, this is just a general, unofficial concept. Nothing official here. I don't want to keep staying on the other stuff.
When I come back at 75%, I don't want somebody to say, "Oh, there were 48 trees, and now you have 52 trees on the map." I don't want to hear that. Okay.
So long as you just keep adding more bike lanes, I think folks will be understanding and forgiving.
And trees, you went up by 4 trees.
We want to. We're going to put as many trees as possible, but
Yeah.
There
is a tree plan. I think we're
Yes.
still developing that, and it has to be updated, but that's part of the plan, trees.
I want to just touch on something real quick. I don't know if this is a question that came up for other folks. Regarding the children losing space, is that something, I heard temporarily, but then I also heard something about an inconvenience or something to that nature. Are we giving, or not we, but is this project going to be able to give those children back that space in some capacity during another time? I just want to make sure that we're not taking away something vital as a playground, as someone who grew up in this neighborhood and realized that not many playgrounds was available to us, to then, to be creating more space for more cars. So that seems, and I know it kind of goes back to that first question regarding that lane change, which I never got clear on, which I'll just follow up later. So, yes, will the children be losing space permanently in their playground? If so, how is that going to be given back to them or corrected?
I don't know if we have that answer, exact answer available. Glory be. I know that we're still in talks, right? But do we have anything definitive?
We're still coordinating. We still have to coordinate with the Department of Education. We know that during construction, we will impact the playground, but after construction is done, I believe that the same, if anything, I think the same
footage.
It will be the same footage, or maybe very slightly.
So it's a temporary loss during construction, which then can be restored after we're done with what we need to do as far as widening.
We'll know the
something like
final
that.
answer once we have the final design drawings, because
Right.
we're still developing this.
Okay.
Yes, but I also want you to think of the big picture. Now,
The bottleneck.
but no, the big picture is now children will be able to safely walk around the corner and access Starlight Park. So that right now there's no sidewalk on Devoe or 177th Street, however you want to refer to it, from Tremont to Starlight Park, to the entrance to Starlight Park. So they may lose 3 feet of the backyard during the construction, but what essentially they're getting is a brand new entrance to the park.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the layout. My nieces went to school there, and it was an interesting walk home on occasion. So here, do we got any
Our-
other?
Well, our intention is to make them whole, right?
No, I
And
appreciate
that's the intention.
It's an
I think
excellent
we're-
point. Thank you, Keith.
There are lots,
Excellent point.
there's still concerns about the widening of the Sheridan ramp, and people are asking whether this is a done deal. Is there a way to impact this decision, or is it made?
It needs to be done in order to realign the roadway. Right? So see here, this, in order for this intersection to work that we're showing here, that piece needs to be realigned. Right? You know, the Sheridan was just rebuilt
Yes.
by the state and turned into a boulevard, right?
Yes.
And so that section would actually goes on to I-95.
Yes.
Right? So that lane is actually entering onto westbound I-95. So if we don't do that, what we'll do is it'll cause a backup down onto Sheridan Boulevard, which will complicate the boulevard that we just rebuilt, that the state just rebuilt.
Okay, so this may require more work, but I'm just wondering whether you've also considered maybe widening it on, I guess, what would that be, the eastbound? So the off-ramp onto East 177th Street, so that you don't touch anything on the on-ramp.
Well, but then we're going to go into parkland, right? So on the south side of that intersection is the parkland, Starlight Park. So if we move that curb, we're going to alienate parkland.
And that's a whole other process.
And that would require legislative
Yes,
change,
exactly.
which is a whole nother level of a delay. I mean, if you guys want to delay it, then yeah, that's definitely going to certainly delay it, but that's going to be a big undertaking.
So I think what I took from this was the widening was specific to a certain section of that on-ramp, right? It wasn't necessarily the area that's across the river. It was just I'm trying to like orient myself. So east
It's the section.
Yeah.
The point of conflict is here, right where the blue corner of the Sheridan, right right here. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's over here. It's over here.
It's around here. Yes, exactly.
It's right there. Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking whether that the section on the other side could be widened. And again,
this is Starlight, and this is
the section on
park.
the other side is also being widened slightly. It's
Yeah.
a combination. It's
both sides, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to eliminate the bottlenecking. So when
Yeah.
people are coming off of the, from the, I guess from the highway.
It's now a boulevard.
Well, I'm sorry, the
Yeah,
boulevard. Right, when they're coming from the boulevard,
Name.
there's like a long length of cars that just
Mhm.
idle here, waiting for the light to change at this intersection. And so it literally goes into one lane, and then it slowly feeds into two lanes, as you can see here from this picture, right? It's two lanes, so cars go this way or cars go this way, right? And that's the bottleneck that we're trying to widen. And remember, it's all about environmental health, right? So you have cars that idle longer in the area, all of that goes into the air. If the cars are moving quicker, they're not idling, air quality also plays a role in us trying to help to eliminate that bottlenecking. So, I mean,
And
yeah.
it will also help with driver aggression. So what happens is people get bottlenecked at this at this place, and then they get frustrated, and then when they get out of it, they speed through the intersection.
Oh yes. Yeah.
I believe
by the time they get here, they're out of their minds.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe Lucy, you had your hand up.
No, I think they addressed. I just was curious if the bottlenecking was happening on the sort of I guess it would be the eastbound, or is it the westbound?
It's both sides.
It sounds like the eastbound.
Glory be said, both sides.
Both sides.
By the
Okay.
by the where the school where the school side is at, and also on just slightly on the other side.
As a resident who drives, walks, bikes in this neighborhood for over 2 decades. The bottlenecking is bad. It is absolutely bad.
yeah.
I believe Michael mentioned in the chat, the BX-M10 uses that ramp, and some widening would help keep that bus on schedule. So here, we got any other folks we can call on for questions? If not, I got a bunch.
Carlos asks about the impact of the river. How has any research been done given that the river has been flooding more frequently?
I'm not sure that we have an expert here to answer that question. Unfortunately, I think we'll have to get back to you on that. I can't answer that question. We'll have to get somebody. Can you send that to us, Daniel? Maybe we'll send that question to us in writing, because I honestly don't know, and I don't want to. I don't know.
Yes,
Again,
And I'm not sure Maria knows.
just bringing to your attention that, again, this is an ongoing coordination. Design considerations to reduce impact to wetlands, determination of environmental effects. So, this is all, they're all looking at this. It's just we don't have all of the details with us right now.
Understood, and thank you. Regarding temporary signage, to kind of maybe help make things a little clearer for the folks. And I'm gonna be honest, signage for everybody involved, drivers, pedestrians, cyclists. It's a confusing intersection. Is that something that's some of the changes that we can get implemented until 2020 something?
Sure. What kind of signage are you looking for?
Oh, we could send you that in the email, right, Daniel?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, I've been waiting for that email, actually.
Yeah. What kind? I'm not clear to me what kind of signage you are looking for, but yeah.
When you come out the park, it's not really clear exactly where to go, depending where you want to go or what even direction you're looking at.
Yeah, when you come out of the park, unfortunately you have to go across the bus driveway, the MTA bus driveway.
But I'm just wanting to ask you a question when you said what kind of signage. There's different types of signage and things like that. And
so you're looking for pedestrian signage or bicycle signage, like the Greenway signage, not roadway signage.
Yeah, so directions to the park, directions to the train. So I feel like that area it really lacks directional input. Like if you're unfamiliar with the area, you wouldn't know how to find Starlight Park, for instance.
Okay, so wayfinding signs is what you're looking for, pedestrians and bicyclists. Okay.
Sure.
We can certainly take a look at that.
Awesome. And Holly, yes, it's been a busy week. But we're definitely gonna get you that email. It was a busy on all fronts for different things, but it's coming. We want to make sure we give you one email, as y'all mentioned earlier.
That's much appreciated.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions directed towards you, T?
No, I don't.
All right. While you're checking, I got one. The CCL, the construction community liaison.
Mm-hmm.
Could you that starts when you said the construction is about to begin?
Yes.
Okay. So we're looking at 2023 for a contact for that person.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And they're dedicated just to that project. So anything related to as far as community concerns or inquiries, concerns, you can contact that person directly. They're dedicated to this project and the community.
Right, but before that, me and Maria would be your contacts.
Yes.
For anything related pre-liaison coming on board. What Maria's mentioning is that there will be a dedicated liaison who will work in the field office, whose main responsibility will be to engage the community and all the stakeholders involved, including liaisoning with the community boards and elected officials and the construction resident engineers and things like that to make sure that the impacts are mitigated to some degree on the community. That's just for this project. That would be that person's sole responsibility.
Understood.
But for before that, me and Maria would be your contacts for other things.
Yeah.
Or Holly Malone, who's
right.
my Greenway coordinator.
Awesome, thank you. Is it possible so we can make things easier for you when we are communicating? Is it possible we could know like what are the other orgs or electeds that you're like in contact? I know you gave a list of all these agencies, but if like from the community side, that way we could kind of make sure that we're not asking you the same questions that maybe another organization along that intersection might be asking you, or the community board, et cetera. I just kind of want to, you know, streamline as much as possible so we can all be happy with how quickly we're moving.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm the liaison for the Bronx DOT, right? My office, our office. So if there's other transportation things, or we would be the point, our office would be the point of contact.
No, I understand that, but is it possible you could tell us who the other folks are involved? You said it was other orgs and elected officials that you're in communication with. That way we could
Right. So we're talking about the local elected officials, right? We're talking about the community board. We're talking about any community-based organizations, businesses that are located in the area. Everyone and anyone who lives, works, travels through the project limits. You know, I mean, I think everyone has a say. You know, we all use it. And, you know, I mean, I'm a lifelong Bronx resident, right? And so, you know, I pass through there, you know, with some regularity. So we're interested in hearing from every stakeholder. You know, no stakeholder is too small. So I'm not sure if I understand your question or if I answered it correctly.
No, yeah, I didn't doubt that part. I was just wondering who were you already in contact with to try to help not sending you the same question somebody else would be, but it's all right. We could do this at another time.
Well, the community board, obviously, Bronx River Alliance. We have the Bronx BRAC, right? Bronx River Arts. We have, you know, the larger businesses that are there along the corridor. If there's a bid or a merchants association that definitely helps to streamline with regards to, you know, the businesses needs. You know, I mean, we've been doing this for a very long time. So we really do know a lot of what to anticipate as far as the needs of businesses, as far as deliveries, being able to, you know, like you know, we're digging a trench. They're not going to be able to park right in front of their business. They may have to do hand delivery at the corner, you know, something like that. So a lot of that coordination happens with the field team there at, you know, during construction, and a lot of that communication happens in the construction phase, and that's why we have the liaison there who will be able to constantly have. I mean, it's ongoing community engagement that never ends. So we are definitely we have a robust outreach process. And again, you know, if they're, and what the liaison does when they first come on board is they literally walk every single block, door to door. They go and they reach out to every business, every building management, super, you name it. They want to know who's out there. That's their job to do that, to know who is out there, what are their needs, what are their concerns, collect as much of the contact information, you know, putting them on their, you know, email alerts so that they can receive, you know, instantaneously all of the advisories and all of the project information that we're sharing. They also do physical posting. So we don't just rely on, you know, the technology, right? Text and email, but we also do that grassroots level, knocking on doors. We do that. And we do physical posting because we know a lot of, you know, there's some folks that may not have computers, or, you know, you're not attached to your phone and your, you know, your email. So we do physical hard copy posting as well. So they do a very thorough, you know, survey of the area. We also have business, residential, and school surveys. And we can send those out electronically if folks choose to do that. And we also have it in paper format. So we try our best to reach everyone. But we know even in our best efforts, you know, you have some folks that really do live in a bubble and they don't come out until they have to come out. So, but again, that's the whole sole purpose of having that community liaison. And they work, as he said, in the field in the field office with the team, right? With the inspectors, the resident engineer who handles the day-to-day operations of the contractor and the project, right? On behalf of DDC. We have office engineer, we have a whole team in place to do that. And then of course, Gloria B doesn't really go anywhere, right? She still goes to the progress meetings that we're going to have with the contractors during construction. And if there are any, things that come up that are unknown during the course of the project, she'll still be involved in the behind the scenes. So, we don't go away. Keith and I, we're still kind of there. We don't go away completely, 100%. But yes, the point of contact does change once we go into the construction phase.
Awesome.
Thank you, Maria. I do have one question from Jim. Jim, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hope you hear me. The Bronx River Greenway is certainly a wonderful path to have. Goes all the way from Soundview to Kensico and Valhalla. But there's a very critical missing link, and we've been looking at it. It's between where Starlight hits 177 and north of Tremont. And this is one reason that the path is perhaps underutilized, because it's very scary trying to bike between those. I'd like to see how this project changes the path between those two. I see a line there, and I'd just like to go over how, for a cyclist, we're talking about principally, one gets between Starlight and West Farms Rapids.
Oh, Rapids, that's the park up this way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the green line. You see the green line here. The bike path crosses out of Starlight and then rides along the western sidewalk that will be built, and then turns west. And then Bronx Street, there'll be a new signal for bicyclists, or for anybody, for pedestrians as well, to cross Tremont Avenue into Bronx Street. And then you would continue on Bronx Street, which is no longer a street, it's the entrance to the Greenway.
Yeah.
And you would enter up to the Rapids, which is up on 180th Street. We're north of 180th Street.
Right here.
The crossings of the Sheridan and of Tremont are both at grade level, or above or below?
They're
green.
If at grade level, will there be signals at both locations so that cyclists will have clear passage without being run over by traffic exiting the Sheridan or on Tremont?
The vehicles cross it, the bicyclists crossing the exit from Sheridan Boulevard will go with pedestrians when pedestrians have the right of way. And the crossing at Bronx Street is dedicated just to bikes and peds. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, and the path between those two looks from this like not just a bike lane, but a truly separated path adjacent to streets. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. You can see it's on the east and southern end of that orange and trees. So vehicles would be out here in the gray. And so then they would be, I don't know if you can make it bigger or not, but on this presentation again, but remember, this is the concept, but that's the idea, is that this will be fully protected bike connection.
Thank you, Keith and Maria.
As protected as it can be, as it goes through these intersections.
Understood. Thank you. We got anyone else? See?
And I just want to note, so the project includes rebuilding the median at this location at the Sheridan Boulevard exit slash.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Maria.
Right here.
And again, another island on the other side approaching that.
Right here.
No, yeah, and I'm on 177th Street.
Right here.
Yep.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome.
Those are what pedestrian refuge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there's enough room for bicyclists
Mm-hmm.
on that space. And then the split, once they cross over, there's a split path. Pedestrians on one side, bicyclists on the other.
Oh yeah, over here.
Yeah, as you go
Yeah.
north.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's actually coloration too to
Yeah.
distinct areas.
Yep.
Yeah. Right here. Yeah.
All right. T? If we're good.
That's it in terms of questions, unless we have some of our own that haven't been answered as yet.
And if you guys think of anything, please,
Yeah.
Ed or Daniel, please send us some question or
I
comments
did-
or concerns.
I did think of something, but it goes beyond this project. I'm like, it sounds like we need to start advocating to have a community liaison before construction so that folks can start getting this information during this process. Because as useful as they are, it seems that we would want to get as many people involved as early as possible. But again, I think that goes beyond the scope of this project. And you might have gave me another pet project to add to my very long list.
Well, I mean, we've
T?
been working, Bronx River Alliance has been working with us on this for a long time.
Right.
No,
So
I get it.
again,
I hear you and I do appreciate
yeah.
it.